Hey y'all, Iman Aline back from Kind Academy talking to you about microschools as usual. And I keep getting these questions, and we're at the beginning of the school year. And I know that I teach this in our LYK, but I feel like I need to do a review about it, especially for people who haven't taken our course. So today I want to talk about tuition. So how we are doing tuition in our microschools is so important. So we are really following a very similar model as every other private school mostly follows, okay? Just because you're a microschool doesn't mean that you don't charge like a microschool. You have to charge like a microschool because of that big word I talked about on my TikTok yesterday called sustainability. And the way that we charge like private schools or colleges or any other kind of program that really has to be sustainable is we, at least for us, and for most schools that I know, we charge a full year package, and then we break it up into 10 payments, and that way parents are paying monthly. So either way, I'm not gonna kind of put anyone out there, but one of the questions I recently got was, since August is a short month for school, like school starts in Broward County on August 11th, I think. Does that mean that parents are paying a prorated rate? And we have done prorated before, so I'm not judging. Like, believe me, I've made the mistake of being like, okay, since we only have 15 days in the month, we're going to break it up. So it's 15 divided by, 30 days or 20 days of school normally. But in all reality, that does not serve anybody, because what ends up happening is, guess what? We pay for a full month of rent, right? So what ends up happening is now we pay for the full month of rent, but we're only charging for 20 days out of the month, or 20 or 15 or 10 days or whatever. And that ends up causing a problem. So charging based off of an entire year is so valuable for tuition. If you just popped in, if you're watching, thank you for watching. I'm talking about tuition because this is a big question. I just got another DM in my inbox, and I got a question in our group yesterday about tuition and how we charge for tuition. And I tell everyone, charge for the year, break it up into 10 months, 10 payments. It's not monthly, it's 10 payments. We also try to charge, another thing that we try to do is we try to charge for our August tuition along with your deposit, basically. So in June, we charged our August tuition in June, because guess what? We still have to pay rent in the summer. We still have to pay for certain things. There's still admin work that's still being done. So we still are doing work in the summer, even if we take off for summer camp. So tuition is super important. And when I'm talking to you guys about tuition, or when I talk about tuition, I'm not talking about it from a state of, oh, I know. I only know because I made these same mistakes. And my big thing is, and I'm still making mistakes, y'all. There's still moments and parts of our program that I want to be more sustainable. So I'm still working on those things. But I'm telling you this because I want you to not make these mistakes. And I want you to start off not making these mistakes. Now, a lot of the reason that I have made these mistakes and that I still have had these mistakes is because I'm still learning, and we're getting higher and higher. And there's really not anyone talking about these things. So don't make these same mistakes I did, and be better than me is really what I'm trying to teach. So when it comes to tuition, I tell everyone the story of when we started. We started off about $40,000 in debt is what we ended up with at Kind Academy when we started off, until about 2020, when everybody knows the world changed. But if 2020 didn't happen, and if we did a pivot and go online, we wouldn't have been as sustainable. I did use personal loans and things like that to assist with getting Kind Academy kind of where it was by 2020. But it definitely wasn't a sustainable model. So my big thing with founders is always trying to teach you how to be sustainable, and always trying to teach about the mindset around what it takes to be sustainable. So that's where I started. It changed because it really wasn't going to continue growing. And because that thing happened in the world, it was a big change in the world. And because we pivoted so fast, we were able to kind of like take advantage of a lot of people going online at that time. So that was one of the things that happened. Okay, I think hopefully you can still hear me, see me, and hopefully it's not too choppy. But it definitely impacted us. We basically learned what not to do. Okay, so now partially like why undercharging doesn't serve you or them. So I feel like this is a problem that we have in microschools in general, is that we really struggle with charging our worth. And I feel like that's such a tricky thing to even say. I don't even want to say charging our worth. Instead of saying, we really should be charging our worth, we need to charge our expenses, y'all. We are not writing down and really determining exactly how much everything is costing, and being really true to what things are costing. If we were really honest about what things are costing and what is happening, we would be in a much better position. when we undercharge, it gives the families less value. It makes it so that we can't innovate in the spaces that we're in. It makes it so that we can't do these beautiful things that we want to do for our learners. We can't have the level of parties that I like to have celebrations for our kids. I can't have those celebrations if we don't have the money coming in. I can't have the extra staff if we don't have that money come in. I can't reinvest in our property if we don't have the right amount of money coming in. I think that when we start talking about budget, we sometimes put in our staff, but what we're not putting it, we put in our operating expenses. But what I'm seeing missing on a lot of budgets is our taxes. A lot of people are not taking their taxes and taking that into account. And taxes, generally, I always say a line item of about 20% for your taxes. The other thing I'm noticing that we're not doing is we're not putting in our profit margin. We have to be building in a profit margin. You do need a profit margin in a school, in whatever business you're running. And the numbers that I hear when it comes to profit margin is anywhere from 20 to 30%. Hello, if you're joining me on live, I'm so glad you're here. I'm talking about tuition and how we really need to charge. I don't even want to say charge our worth anymore. I want to say we need to charge how much our program actually needs to survive, okay? And it is charging our worth too, because most likely you're incredibly intelligent. You probably have been an educator for a long time. You are probably paying rent and paying for all of this kind of stuff. So you need, Amber, thank you so much. We offer so much value to the child and family as an individual. I think the price needs to reflect this. It's so important. Not even, I feel like, we're heart-centered CEOs, Amber, right? And I totally understand. The challenge that comes up is like, but I know that I give so much value. You do give a ton of value, but a lot of times, sometimes we feel like we're not worth it, and that's okay. I want to move away from even talking about like all the value, because there's going to be moments in our careers that we're like, it's not really that valuable because I wish I was doing more, which we're wrong. But if you really sat down and wrote down the taxes, the profit margin that you need to have, the savings that you need to have. I used to be so scared that a toilet was going to go out at our school. If the toilet went out at our school, like what was I going to do? Because we didn't have any profit or any savings built in. That needs to be a line item on your expenses. And whenever we are creating our tuition model, most likely for the upcoming year, you can start thinking about your tuition for next year. We just raised our tuition. And I'm still like, man, like there's still so much room for things that we want to do. Like I want a podcasting studio. I want to have, a YouTube studio for the kids. I want to have all of these cool supplies. And I look at them, I'm like, man, like we're going to have to charge a little bit more. We have 5 teachers at Kind Coral Springs right now. So we have to be able to pay them, right? And everything's going up. So everything has kind of increased. So yes, absolutely, Amber, I agree. Like we do give so much value, and that's super important. And in addition to the value, we need to be able to pay for the things that we have to pay for. And a lot of times we don't factor those things in. Taxes are a huge part of it. I'm in Rachel Rogers' community mastermind, and she talks about how we pay about 50% of all of our money in taxes. 50% a lot of times we need to really account for in taxes. Okay, we're paying corporate taxes, we're paying for supplies, where we pay taxes on supplies, we're paying for taxes for a lot of things. So really calculate an increase. A lot of times if we double the amount of money that we're charging, that's when we start getting to the real money that it costs to run a school, okay? I know that's hard. And I'm not saying double it all right away. Sometimes our first 3 years, we're not doing as, you know what I mean? Like a lot of times, a lot of businesses do start off with kind of taking a loss their first 3 years. I don't like that model. And I'm always telling people like start off as small as you can so that you're not taking a loss. Most of us are coming out of being teachers. You're already kind of trying to like remake your income, all that other stuff. Okay. So either way, but undercharging doesn't serve anybody. It really, truly doesn't serve anybody. It doesn't serve your students, because then you can't buy the things that you want to buy. Then you get burned out. Then you can't be around forever. And that's super important. Okay. I already talked about calculating sustainable tuition. Make sure that you really have staffing. Make sure you have rent. Make sure you have all those things. A lot of people talk and ask about scholarships. So how do we make it so that our program is accessible? So we are absolutely always kind of in a place to make sure that our scholarships are kind of out there for our students. And that goes along with making sure that we're charging tuition as well. That is going to account for any students that we want to bring in on scholarship, because we do. Every year we usually scholarship in probably about 3 of our students at minimum. Anytime we get funding, whenever we get sponsorships, we usually try to use that money for scholarshiping students in. And we usually try to reduce tuition. But that's one way that we try to be as accessible as possible. Yeah, you have to be profitable though. For your business to last, you have to be profitable. And I tell that to people all the time. My big thing when I teach people how to open microschools is I want your microschool to be around in 5 years. I want your microschool to be around in 10 years. And a lot of microschools cannot last that long. And that's okay. I'd rather you go ahead and like say okay, no to the, but really if we start off with from a sustainable standpoint, especially when it comes, it's usually money. Like, you should money. The work is a lot, but most of us are coming from a place. Hi, Caitlin. I'm just talking about being sustainable. You know how I talk about money all the time. Caitlin, everybody knows, like, because that's really the big thing. Like, we have the passion. Most of us have the passion. We want to do this. It's so important. But having the passion, unfortunately, does not pay the bills most of the time. There are many times that I did get a grant based off passion alone. I was lucky, but that doesn't happen all the time. And moving into it, we need to be really talking about how much it truly takes. Okay. So some of the main questions that I always get is what if no one can afford your rate? Okay. So, we definitely started off with doing lower price programming and kind of funneling into a higher price point. And that's okay as well. That's why I always say to start small, start with a class, start with a workshop. Start with something that is so small that it won't really kill your pockets. I've seen people start off with buying a building there right away. And when you start off and you buy a building right away, you are going to be stuck with any kind of costs that come in. Zoning, you need to now pay for sprinklers, and sprinklers are $40,000. Okay. So definitely starting off small makes it so that people can afford your rate. So instead of starting off huge and starting off with this big building where you have to charge $30,000, you can start off with a small workshop in a class or something like that, or partner with a community center. And that way you can make yourself more affordable. Okay. How do you raise your prices without backlash? So we raised our tuition last year, and it still is like, it's still a tricky conversation to have, period. But we started letting people know as early as possible. By about February, we were telling people our prices were going up in February for the next school year. So I think the earlier you can tell people, and I also always start with, hey, like, our prices are going to increase. And we always leave space for people to tell us, hey, like, can it be done like this? I always tell people, yes, that our prices are going to increase, but you know what I mean? Like, please let us know, like, if there's something that we can do to make it more sustainable or more affordable for your family, especially for families who are returning. Our new families usually come in at the regular price point that we've increased to. And then our older families that have been with us, that may have been scholarship, things like that, we make sure that they are, even if we do increase, that they are kind of grandfathered in somewhat if we have to. Sometimes they don't need to be grandfathered in. We've had families come in on scholarship and go 2-3 years later, I can actually afford the regular rate now. And that's a beautiful thing too. But that's how we raise our prices without backlash. What if they compare you to public school, right? What if they're like, well, you know, it's free over here, or it's cheap over here, or you're so much more expensive than other people? If you are doing this and you're doing it in a way, first of all, you should do market research always and look around at what different schools are charging around you. I usually like to set my number at an average, kind of somewhere in between, in the middle. And somebody drop in the chat because I'm getting that this is low. Is that Anne Marie? Hi. Hi, Terry Ann. What's up? Hi, Allinson. Hi, beautiful people. I usually get, let me know if there's like bad connection or anything like that, because it keeps telling me it's slow connection. I don't know. I'm way away from my router. So just let me know if you give me a chat if you're not seeing it. And also please ask questions, y'all. Like, I'm jumping on live. It's not usually my typical thing, but I felt like this is my second. I got 2 DMs today, and they both were like, wait a second, like, can I charge? And if you're seeing this later, I'm sorry, I'm not going to say your name, but somebody actually DM'd me like, hey, I normally don't charge until the day after school starts. And I was like, you are lucky that you have not been burned yet, because if you don't charge, you need to charge a month in advance. You need to charge. If school starts on August 11th, that August payment should already be done. That first payment should already be done. So, and then the month of September is due September 1st. And I think ProCare, I don't know, Allinson, you can tell me. Like, I think ProCare, you have to charge for the month that you're in. So like for August, your payment is due August 1st for ProCare. Thank you, Allinson. But yeah, if you're like, oh, well, or some people like, oh, they pay me after the week is over. No. Like, it's not, if you've been lucky enough to say, hey, like, we're going to go to school for a month and people can pay me for August, they can pay me on August 31st. That is, you are incredibly lucky. Generally, something's going to happen where family, oh, thank you, Anna. Look at me getting compliments in the chat. Thank you so much. I love you. But no, really, if you have to be charging ahead of time, you have to be charging ahead of time because guess what? Your rent is being charged ahead of time, right? Your teachers need to be paid on time. So if you have so much financial kind of like you have the bandwidth and you have that much room to take payment a month later, that is wild, first of all. And we already, if you're in a scholarship state, that's already the way that you're being paid. We're being paid after if we're doing part-time tutoring type stuff. So being very, very careful about making sure your cash flow works, which I'll talk about another live about cash flow at some point. Okay, I think that's kind of it. Any other questions for me? I feel like, comparing to other schools. Sometimes you're going to be like, oh, well, this school's charging less. That's okay. That school's going to charge less. I totally understand. Some schools are going to charge less. Our ratio is about a 1-to-7 on most days. 1 teacher to 7 students. There's not any public schools that I know of are 1-to-7. That is usually a classroom for kindergarten is 16 kids with 1 teacher. 3rd and 4th grade, you're looking at 20 kids. Middle school, you're looking at 30 kids. So my price point can't be the same because they're getting that amount of money. So your price point cannot be the same as public schools. And generally, it's going to be based off of the amount of students that I have in there. And on top of that, we go on field trips for our program at least once a month, big field trips where we have a van that has commercial insurance on it, y'all. Commercial insurance is no joke. The maintenance on that van is no joke. So all that stuff adds up and that's okay. But that's where our tuition comes up. Can you charge different prices for different families is another question. Yes, you can. I generally don't advertise what everybody's getting charged. So that's something that, you know what I mean? Like, everybody in our program, a lot of people do have different price points. It is a little bit challenging sometimes, and I always shout Danielle out because she handles it like a pro. But from a business perspective, trying to have one price point is really valuable if you can. But a lot of times having like a scholarship family here or there, we pride ourselves on being as accessible as possible. But being accessible also means that you need to be sustainable for yourself. If having all these different price points are going to hurt you, then you cannot do it. And that's just what it comes down to. Thank you. All right. I feel like that's it. I am jumping on as much as possible. I'm basically at this point where I've already started teaching people how to launch their own microschools, which I think I already have people on my call that have launched their own schools. Like, congratulations. Now we're getting to the point where I know a lot of people that have launched and now they want to really scale and they want to start consulting or they want to start coaching other people or they want to start doing this other thing or they want to add 2 or 3 more schools and they're like, okay, what do I do next now? How do I do this? I want to license. I want to consult. I want to build legacy. And now that's pretty much what I'm building with Scale Your School, which is going to most likely be dropping in October or so. But I really want to make sure that I'm supporting people in this journey as much as possible. So that's pretty much it. Please look out for me on live. If you have any questions for me, please let me know. You're always welcome to DM me any questions. And thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye, guys.